If you're reading this, it's already too late. That was the last line my best friend ever sent me. Not a text, not a call. An email, a stupid chain email. I know how it sounds. We all grew up laughing at those things. Forward this to 10 people or die at midnight. Harmless junk, right? That's what I thought too. Until his name appeared in my inbox at 3:17 a.m., the message was frantic, scattered, like he was typing with shaking hands. He swore the chain wasn't a joke, that it knows things. That once you read it, you're part of it. And at the very bottom, just before the screen flickered, was that line burned into my head forever. If you're reading this, it's already too late. The next morning he was gone. His socials wiped, numbers disconnected, no trace. Just me and that email still sitting in my inbox waiting. You think it's a hoax? I did too. But what happened after proved otherwise. And if you really want to understand how one stupid chain email destroyed everything, I need to tell you about my friend. Before I tell you how bad it got, you need to understand what life looked like before the email, because it wasn't all doom and paranoia back then. In fact, it was painfully normal. My friend, let's call him Matt, wasn't the type to get spooked by anything. He was the guy who'd watch horror movies with the lights off just so he could laugh at everyone else jumping. The guy who'd order expired energy drinks off eBay because what doesn't? Kill me makes me stronger. Basically, the last person you'd expect to fall victim to something as dumb as a chain letter. We were both in that weird limbo stage of early adulthood, working crummy part-time jobs, pretending to study for classes we didn't care about, wasting nights on Discord calls we'd barely remember the next morning. Most of our conversations were just memes, bad jokes, and complaining about professors or managers who hated us personally. Nothing remarkable, nothing cinematic. Just two idiots killing time in the age of the internet, but looking back, I can see the cracks. Matt had this bad habit of clicking on everything that hit his inbox spam. Newsletters, surveys promising free PS5, just enter your credit card. He thought it was funny to see how much junk he could collect. His Gmail looked like a digital landfill. Half the time when I was over at his place, his laptop would chime every few seconds with some garbage subject line. Congratulations, you've won. Or, hot singles in your area want to chat. Dude, you're gonna get your identity stolen. I'd warn him. He'd just grin and say, joke's on them, I don't have an identity worth stealing. That was Matt's sarcasm first, logic second. I brushed it off because that was just who he was. But then the emails got weirder. They stopped looking like generic spam. The subject lines started using his name, his full name. At first, he thought it was just clever phishing. But then one came through with nothing in the body, just a timestamp. 3:17 a.m., the exact time I'd be woken up a week later by his final email. Of course, I didn't know that then. Back then, it was just another weird thing we laughed about. I remember sitting in his room, half asleep, when his phone buzzed again. He groaned, checked it, and muttered, "Oh, great. Another one of those chain emails." I barely looked up from my energy drink. What's it say? Forward this to 10 people or Bloody Mary comes through your mirror? Something like that. He smirked, scrolling. God, people still fall for this crap? That was the first time he mentioned it. The first time I heard the words chain email out loud. If I had known then what was coming, I wouldn't have laughed. I would have grabbed his laptop, smashed it, and walked away. But hindsight is cruel like that. At first, it was funny. Matt forwarded the email, leaned back in his chair, and laughed like he'd just pulled off the dumbest prank in the world. But the replies kept coming, not from people. From the chain itself. The first one popped up less than a minute later. No sender name, no email address, just a blank field. The subject line read, Matt, all caps. Just his name. I remember the way his smile faltered when he opened it. The body was empty. Nothing but a single time stamp. 3:17 a.m. he snorted, trying to play it off. Creepy coincidence, he said. Probably some automated bot scraping my name from the forward. But I could see his hands shaking a little on the mouse. The next day, another one. This time the subject line read, "I saw you at work. Matt." Froze. He worked at a gas station off campus, nothing glamorous, barely any foot traffic. How would they even know that? He muttered. Inside the message, a grainy photo. Too blurry to make out, but the silhouette looked like someone standing behind the counter in a uniform. His uniform, I laughed nervously, trying to rationalize. It could be a prank, dude. Some scammer hacked into your socials. But when I checked his Facebook and Instagram, no new pictures, no tags, no public info about where he worked. By the end of the week, the emails were arriving in patterns. Always around midnight or later. Always with subjects that felt too specific to be random. Your door was unlocked last night. Don't forget the blue hoodie. She is standing behind you. That last one made him slam his laptop shut. We sat in silence for a full minute before either of us moved. Okay, that one wasn't funny, he admitted, his voice low. I tried to laugh, but it came out cracked. It's just spam, man. He cut me off. Spam doesn't know what color hoodie I wore yesterday. And he was right. The worst part was that the emails weren't always wrong. Sometimes they mentioned things that hadn't happened yet. Little details like a professor canceling class or a friend posting a specific meme in our Discord, that wouldn't come true until hours later. It was like the chain was watching ahead of us, feeding him glimpses of the near future. Matt stopped forwarding them after that, stopped opening them too, but it didn't matter. They still showed up. Every night, and eventually they started coming to me. The first time I saw one sitting in my inbox, I felt my stomach twist into knots. The subject line was my full name, just like his. The body contained only one line of text. You shouldn't have read his. I never told Matt what it said. I couldn't. He was already spiraling, and I didn't want to push him further. But from that moment on, I knew it wasn't just his problem anymore. That's when I saw my first email from the chain. The first time I saw my name in the subject line, I thought it was a mistake. Some phishing scam, some data breach. Nothing more, but when I opened it, I knew it wasn't random. The message was short. Barely a sentence. Stop pretending you don't believe him. I read it 3 times, my chest tightening, because those were the exact words rattling around in my head earlier that day when Matt had shown me the blurry photo from his gas station shift. When I laughed it off, when I told myself he was overreacting, I slammed the laptop shut, heart pounding. Later that night, I tried deleting it. Not just from my inbox completely, trash, spam, everything. Emptied the folder, closed the lid. The next morning, it was back. Same subject line, same text. Like it had never left. I didn't tell Matt. I couldn't. He was already unraveling, and if I admitted the chain had reached me too, I think it would have pushed him over the edge. Instead, I told myself lies. Maybe it was cached. Maybe I didn't actually delete it. Maybe Gmail was glitching. But every time I tried again, delete, clear, restarted, just came back. And each time the message changed slightly. One day it read, "He doesn't sleep anymore." The next, "You'll see it too." Another time, "Check under your bed." I never did. By then, paranoia had wormed its way into every part of my day. I'd wake up at night and swear I heard my laptop fan spinning even though it was shut. I'd check my phone and find ghost notifications buzzes without any messages. Sometimes I'd swear I saw words flicker across the screen, vanishing before I could screenshot them. Matt noticed my twitchiness. "You okay?" he asked one night, his face pale from the glow of his monitor. "Yeah," I lied. "Just tired." But I could tell he didn't believe me. And maybe he saw through me more than I realized, because his next words were a whisper. "They're not going to stop." That was the first time I realized he wasn't just scared. He was resigned, and then just when I thought it couldn't get worse, something happened outside the screen, something I still can't explain. It didn't stay inside the screen. At first, it was little things. Matt started showing up to class with scratches on his arms he couldn't explain. "Probably sleepwalking," he joked, though his laugh was thin, brittle. He told me he'd wake up in different places, on the couch, on the floor. Once even standing at the front door with his keys in his hand like he was about to leave. I tried to shrug it off, but then the emails started predicting it. One night, I was sitting next to him when his phone buzzed. He frowned, opened the notification, and turned pale. The subject line read, "You will bleed tonight." I told him not to open it, but he already had. The body was a single sentence. "Left arm? Second scratch?" He tried to laugh it off, but the next morning, he texted me a photo, his arm wrapped in a bandage. A fresh gash, right where the email had said. Another time, he woke up with bruises along his ribs, and the email that night had read, "3 steps from the stairs." He lived in a basement apartment. He swore he never went near the stairs. That night, it was like the chain wasn't just describing his life anymore, it was writing it. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't start to believe him. The final straw came one weekend when we were gaming at his place. Around 2 a.m., his laptop chimed. He tried to ignore it, but the sound was like bait on a hook. His eyes flicked to the screen. Another subject line glowed in the dark. "He's watching you too." Not him, not Matt, me. I felt my stomach knot. I grabbed his wrist. "Don't open it." He looked at me, dead serious for the first time since this started. "You think it matters whether I open it or not?" He clicked. Inside was nothing but my full name, typed over and over again, filling the entire message. Dozens of lines, hundreds of repetitions, each one glitching slightly. Letters breaking apart as if the words themselves were decaying. That was the first time the chain spoke about me. I couldn't breathe. My hands shook so badly I had to set the controller down. "Why me?" I whispered. Matt didn't answer. He just stared at the screen, eyes hollow, lips moving like he was trying to form words but couldn't. The next morning he told me he didn't remember any of it. He said he'd blacked out after clicking. He didn't even remember me being there, but I remember, and I know what I saw. That's when I realized this wasn't about him anymore. I told myself there had to be a rational explanation. Maybe it was some elaborate prank, a virus, a hacker screwing with us. But the emails were too precise, too personal. They knew things no one could possibly know. So I started digging. At first, it was harmless, old Reddit threads, Quora questions, half-baked, "Is this chain letter real?" Posts with people laughing about how they ignored them as kids. It was old noise, just urban legend static. But then, deeper down, I started finding the patterns. A 2004 forum post from a sysadmin describing a haunted mail server that sent out corrupted chain letters until his entire company went under. A blog from 2010 about a college student who killed himself after an email predicted the exact time of his death. A string of Facebook groups long since abandoned, people begging others not to open the red letter, warning that it had claimed their friends. The names were always different. The subject lines changed, but the bones of it stayed the same. An email arrives. It demands to be forwarded. If you obey, you delay the consequences. If you don't, the world itself starts to bend. 1. Post stopped me cold. An archive of a Usenet group from the late 90s. Somebody claimed the chain had existed before email passed around as photocopies, scrawled notes, even whispered verses. They called it a parasite that lives in language. And the further I went, the worse it got. I found screenshots of a death counter supposedly embedded in the email's code. A timeline of suicides linked to the chain stretching back decades. A grainy photo of a kid holding a printout, smiling at the camera captioned, "He didn't make it past the week." The more I read, the more I felt like the chain wasn't just something online, it was a network. A system, feeding itself through human fear. Then I found the post. It was on an abandoned forum, the kind of site that looks like it was built in 1998 and never touched again. Buried in the middle of a thread titled, "Stop Forwarding IT." The post was only 2 lines long. It doesn't stop. It already knows who's next. And then my name. My full name, not a coincidence, not close, not similar. My exact name. I stared at the screen so long my eyes watered. The post was dated 6 years ago. 6 years before I ever saw the chain. I refreshed the page. The entire thread was gone. That was the moment I knew we weren't just unlucky. We weren't victims of some random virus. We were chosen. When I told Matt, he didn't even flinch. He looked hollow, exhausted, like he'd already accepted it. "I've been thinking," he said. His voice was rough, strained. "Maybe there's a way out, if it's all about forwarding. Maybe I can break it. Corrupt the file, rewrite the script, force it to eat itself." I begged him not to. Every story I'd found ended the same way. People who tried to fight it only accelerated whatever was coming, but Matt just smiled. The kind of smile you give when you've already lost. "You don't get it," he whispered. "It's not about me anymore, it's about you. And if I can stop it before it takes you." He didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. That was the night he started his solution. I wish I could tell you Matt got better. That whatever solution he was working on gave him hope, or at least bought us more time, but the truth is, that was when I lost him. It started with little things. He stopped going to class. He stopped eating. He'd sit in the dark, lit only by his laptop screen, typing code and muttering under his breath like he was arguing with something I couldn't see. The apartment changed too. Curtains closed, lights off, plates stacked in the sink. It smelled like stale coffee and burnt wires, because he'd started leaving his computer running day and night, fans screaming like a jet engine, and he changed most of all. He jumped whenever I said his name, like he didn't recognize my voice. His skin looked gray, stretched thin, eyes ringed with dark circles. And he wouldn't let me near his laptop. Every time I asked what he was doing, he just shook his head. "Don't," he'd whisper. "If you know too much, it'll notice you faster," but I already knew. I'd already seen my name. One night, I caught him dozing on the couch, mumbling in his sleep. I leaned closer, and his words froze me cold. "Forward, forward, forward." He jerked awake, grabbed me by the wrist, so hard it left a bruise. His eyes were wild, frantic. "You didn't open yours, did you?" "Tell me you didn't," I lied. I told him I deleted it. But the way he looked at me, I think he knew the truth. The dreams got worse after that. He told me about them in fragments when he was too tired to keep the mask on. Dreams of endless inboxes, lines of unread messages stretching into infinity. Every subject line had our names. Every attachment was locked, waiting for him to click. "They're not dreams," he whispered once, voice trembling. "They're instructions." I tried everything. I begged him to leave the apartment, to go outside, to touch grass, talk to someone, anyone. But he wouldn't. He said it followed him in reflections, in shadows, in every flicker of his phone screen. He started unplugging things, first the TV, then the router, then even his phone. I found it smashed in the trash one morning, screen spider webbed like he'd taken a hammer to it, and then one night he looked at me with this hollow, broken smile. I found a way to stop it, he said. But it's going to cost me. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? What are you talking about? He didn't answer. He just turned back to his laptop, fingers trembling on the keyboard. For hours I sat there listening to the clack of his keys, the hum of the fan, the occasional whisper under his breath. My chest felt like it was caving in. I didn't know if I should stop him or let him finish or just run and never look back. Finally, sometime before dawn, he stopped. He slumped back in his chair, eyes glassy, face pale. "It's done," he sighed. His voice was so soft I barely heard it. I rushed over, but he shoved me back with a strength I didn't think he still had. "Don't touch it," he hissed. "You'll undo everything." That was the last conversation we ever had, because the next morning, he was gone. The apartment was silent. His laptop was closed. His chair sat empty, still warm when I touched it. No note, no trace of where he went. Just a single email notification blinking on my screen. The subject line was my name. I opened it. It was from Matt. And it started with 6 words that have never left me since. If you're reading this, it's already too late. When I clicked it open, my stomach dropped. The formatting was broken, jagged, like a file corrupted 100 times over. Black text on a white background, but the words seemed to crawl and rearrange themselves as I read. It began the same way. Every chain letter did mocking, almost childish. Forward this to 7 people or suffer the consequences. But then the tone shifted. You think this is just a joke? You think you can hide behind your screen, but I can see you. I can hear you. I know what you're thinking right now. And then my blood turned to ice. It typed out my thoughts, word for word. This isn't real. This can't be real. I swear to you, I hadn't typed a single thing. But the screen kept spitting my denial back at me. Then it changed again. The font warped, letters stretching into grotesque shapes. My name appeared full, middle included, spattered across the page like blood, and beneath it, Matt's name. Matthew broke the chain. Matthew paid the price. I stopped breathing. Then images began flashing, not attachments. Not links, just pictures embedded in the email itself, looping like a nightmare. SLIDSHOW. Matt standing at his desk. Matt asleep on the couch. Matt looking over his shoulder in the mirror, photos I never took, angles I never saw. The last one was the worst. Matt staring straight at the camera, mouth open in a silent scream, as if something behind the lens had just dragged him into darkness. And then nothing, the pictures vanished. The email scrolled itself down, letters pouring onto the screen too fast to follow, like a flood. I caught pieces, snippets in between the static. This is how it spreads. You are not the first. You will not be the last. My chest was tight, my vision blurred. I couldn't tell if it was panic or something else pressing down on me. Then the final lines appeared, slow, deliberate, centered in the middle of the screen. If you're reading this, it's already too late. Forward it or join him. And then silence. The email closed itself. My inbox emptied, every folder wiped clean like nothing had ever existed. The laptop fan went quiet, like it had finally exhaled. I sat there for what felt like hours, staring at the black screen, waiting for anything to happen, but there was nothing. No knock at the door, no whisper in the dark. No shadow moving in the corner of my eye, only absence, only silence, and Matt was gone. I never saw him again. His apartment was empty. When the landlord checked, his phone line disconnected. His family said he never came home. It was like he'd been erased, and yet I can't shake the feeling he isn't gone, not completely. That somewhere, somehow, he's still out there, caught in the chain. And me? I should have deleted it. I should have burned the laptop, smashed the drive, anything, but I didn't, because Even now, I can't stop thinking about that last line. The one that keeps repeating in my head whenever I close my eyes. Forward it. Or join him. I've been debating whether I should even share this. Part of me knows the second these words leave my mouth, they stop belonging to me. They become yours, and maybe that's exactly what it wants. You see, the chain doesn't care about email anymore. That was just its disguise, a convenient costume for an old hunger. Stories spread faster than letters. Fear spreads faster than fire. And now stories live forever. They don't fade. They don't die. They get recorded, reposted, clipped, archived, and whispered across timelines. Maybe that's the real chain. Think about it. I just told you everything. Every warning, every detail, every piece of bait. You've heard it now. You know the words. You know the rules, and the question is, what do you do with them? You could close this right now. Pretend it was just a story, a dumb creepypasta you'll forget by morning. But I know you won't. Part of it will stick. Maybe it's already crawling around in your head, the same way it crawled into mine. Matt thought ignoring it would save him. He was wrong. I thought sharing it would free me. I'm starting to realize I might be wrong too, which means it's your turn. Because if the chain really is just a story that demands to be told, then by listening you're already holding it. And if I've learned anything, it's that the chain hates being broken. That's why I have to leave you with a choice. Forward it, or join us. Don't get comfortable. Don't tell yourself you're safe just because you don't check your inbox anymore. The chain doesn't need email. It never did. All it needs is attention. All it needs is memory. And now you have both. So here's the question you'll be asking yourself. When the lights go out tonight, did hearing this count? Or does it only count if you tell someone else? Will you wake up tomorrow and be fine? Or will your phone buzz at 3:17 a.m. with a message you swear you didn't subscribe to? I guess we'll find out. And if you're still here listening to me ramble, ask yourself one last thing. Why did the very first line sound so familiar? If you're reading this, it's already too late.